and people in my personal life, and then my extended family, like her brothers and sisters and that kind of thing, I didn't really come out to until I was 18 in college, and that
Hmm.
did not go over so well. But and
So
so
when you go to family get-togethers and stuff, are they like, he's the gay one over there?
yeah, it's kind of
Do
like
they do
that.
they do that?
I mean, I'm so not a fake person that it's
Hmm.
I either like you or I don't like you. If I like you, I'm like the warmest person in the world. I'm very gracious and
Hmm.
gregarious and all those things. But if I don't like you, I'm ice. So when I go to those family gatherings and stuff, I just ignore them, and they try to hug me or something, and my arms are down by my side. I'm like, get away from me, basically. So, so because basically they're being fake. They're saying, oh, we
Sure.
think you're disgusting and wrong, but I'm going to act like I love you. So no, I don't like you.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
Okay. Well, maybe eventually you'll give them a chance. Maybe they are trying.
well, that's been 20 years ago. So
Ah. Okay.
no.
So it's done and over.
Yeah, I have really no interest in having a relationship with people who don't accept me for what I am. Why would I
Hmm.
want that? I don't have any desire to have a relationship with someone. Why would I want a relationship with my father who calls me a demon, thinks I'm disgusting and wrong? Why would I want a relationship with these other people in my family who feel the same way? I don't
Sure.
want a relationship with them because I know who they are, and that tells me a great deal about who they are as a person and their character by behaving the way they are. And by the way, you mentioned earlier that you were raised to believe about homosexuality being negative, whatever, and a lot
Hmm.
of times that's the case. People are raised to believe that, or it's the religious beliefs or whatever that make them feel that being
Sure.
gay is wrong. But and I'm just saying this with all due respect, I never allow that to be used as an excuse. Yes, it is a reason,
Hmm.
but it's not an excuse for discriminating against people. So
Sure. It's not. It's not.
yeah, and so people who use that still today to me and who are still bigoted about or whatever about gay people, I'm
Hmm.
very staunch about that being an excuse and not a true
Well,
reason. So
with me, it was more ignorance, and then the more I learned, and the more I was around my gay friends, the more accepting I became.
you're right. Well, of course.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of, like I said, I think it's always a matter of being educated, and you said ignorance, and that really is what it is,
Absolutely.
generally. But unfortunately, people, even if they've been educated, there are people who are highly educated who still feel that way, or have been around a million different types of people, have traveled the world and are worldly, and still feel bigoted.
Hmm.
So it's not always the cure, quote unquote, but sometimes it
Hmm.
works, and I think typically it does. So anyway,
The only issue that I still encounter, well, that I still have battles with,
hmm
and I'll tell you, it's the marriage thing. Now, I don't have an issue with gay people getting together in a formal union. I just feel like with my beliefs and my background that marriage should still be between a man and a woman.
hmm
But however, I do feel that if two gay men want to get married, or if two gay women want to get together, then I think that it should just be called something else. That's the only problem I have.
well, let me tell you this about that. Let me
Okay.
say this about
I
that.
knew I knew you would have something to say. That's why I brought it up.
I think that people who feel that way, first of all, you're basically saying, let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly first, that you're
Mhm.
saying that you want gay people to be able to have a civil union or whatever, it's not call it
Mhm.
marriage, basically.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you want separate but equal. That's what you want. You want
That's
people
good.
you want people who are gay to be able to have all the same rights that you as a heterosexual man have, but you can't call it marriage. It can't be equal or equivalent to your marriage. Is that correct?
Well, the way that I was brought up, and in my religion, it says in the Bible that a man and a woman, that's marriage.
Well,
Uh, and
yeah.
I feel like when gays are together, I just feel like you should call it something else, just out of maybe it's I don't know it's I don't know.
Well,
Convince me, change my mind.
the problem is people are always saying, well, the definition of marriage has always been between one man and one woman. That's not true.
Hmm.
The definition of marriage has not always been between one man and one woman. Even in the Bible, it's defined as not just one man and one woman. There may be one passage or whatever that may says it's a man and a woman, but there are also other
Hmm.
passages where Solomon has many wives and other people have many wives,
Hmm.
or or some people are taken as their slaves are taken as wives or whatever. And typically, women are seen as property in the Bible. So if you're going to go by the Bible as the definition of marriage, then
Uh-huh.
essentially you might as well be buying a woman, you might as well have a prostitute, because basically that's what you're
Hmm.
doing. But what I want to say about it is this, is that people always
Okay.
say, well, the definition of marriage has always been between a man and a woman. That's not true. Actually, it's been proven, and it has been proven by a Yale scholar, and also a Catholic, by the way, that marriage was actually not just between a man and a woman before the 13th century. Before the 13th century, there were many marriages, recorded marriages between two men. And
Hmm.
they are recorded, and they had the same rights, the same ceremonies, the same everything that the other people, heterosexual people, had. So to say that it's always been between one man and woman is not true. And so that
Hmm.
argument really doesn't hold any weight if you really research it. Now you're going
Now,
to,
how do you feel? How do you feel about it? Do you uh, would you be okay not calling it marriage, or or do
I
you
don't
feel like
believe they're
that
separate but
it?
equal. It's the same thing as the water
Mhm.
fountains. Same
Hmm.
thing as water fountains for black people. No.
I've never looked at it that way.
Well, maybe you should.
Never one time. I've never once looked at it like that.
Yeah. Because it's,
I'm not sure that I'm still not sure that I've bought into it, but you've got me thinking.
well, that's all you can ask, because most
Hmm.
people won't even do that. So it's good that
Hmm.
you're actually considering it. But why would you expect what? Why? Because you said people should respect the fact that marriage has been, as you put it, between one man, one woman, and it has been defined that way for some time. But it's also been
Hmm.
defined in many other ways, as I just illustrated to you. So if you can pick and choose from the Bible, based on what your religious beliefs are, why do you choose to make that one particular issue such an issue? Because I'm sure you don't follow every word of the Bible.
No,
I'm sure.
absolutely. I mean, I just I don't know. I mean, I'd have to think about it.
Hmm.
I just and I'm my feelings and my beliefs, they're not set in stone, and that's kind of why I'm talking to you. Just because I'm curious to see what you think and what you have to say about it. But like I said, you've got me thinking, and I'll look into it. But there was a time in my life where I'm a conservative Republican.
Hmm.
I am.
Sorry.
It's okay. But as far as a lot of the strict conservative Republican views go, I'm against capital punishment,
Hmm.
and I'll tell you why. It's
I know.
because yeah, I figured. But the reason I'm against it is because I feel like I have to be consistent, and I'm extremely pro-life.
Hmm.
So in order for me to be consistent
Hmm.
with the pro-life and the capital punishment, if I'm pro-life, I'm pro-life.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter.
That's one of the
So
major problems that I have with people who say they're pro-life and yet are
mhm,
are pro-capital punishment. That's exactly right.
mhm,
Yes, I
yeah.
agree.
So and I wasn't always like that. I mean, it's just like I said, it's just ignorance and it's an evolution.
But I have a question for you about
Absolutely.
abortion, since we're talking about pro-life.
Mhm,
You, um, the way I feel about it is, obviously I don't agree with you, but the way I
mhm,
feel about it is that why is it ever you as a man, your decision to decide what a woman does with her body, ever? Why?
mhm,
I mean, don't you think maybe? I mean, honestly, I as a man would never ever deign to tell a woman what she should or should not do with her body. And I know you see it as a life separate from her, etc. And I understand that point of view. And I
mhm,
certainly am not pro-abortion. I mean, I hate the fact that people say pro-life, like people who are against or for, approve of abortion to some degree,
mhm.
as if we are not. I think that people who are pro-life, as you put it, are perfectly. It's perfectly okay for you to feel what you feel, but I don't think that it's okay for you to tell someone else what to do with their body any more than it is for me to tell you that you can't have sex a certain way with your wife, or you can't
Mhm.
eat a certain food or drink a certain drink like Mayor Bloomberg did in New York City. I mean, whatever. You can't.
Mhm.
I can't control what you do with your body. As long as it's your body, then why should you tell her what to do with hers? How do you feel about that?
I guess. Well, let me put it this way. I 3%, and I'm not sure about these statistics. Like I'm pulling this off the top of my head, but 3% of most abortions are they happen because of incest or rape or something like that. And the other 97%, it's used more of as as a birth control. Why can't they just take the pill? Why can't they use the condom? Why get pregnant and then get an abortion?
Well, condoms do break, first of all. So then what do you do if you get
Hmm.
pregnant when a condom breaks?
Well, I'm just saying 3% are because I could deal with that. I could deal with the rape and with the incest and things like that. But I just have an issue with it. It's a moral issue because that is a life in there, and I'm not exactly sure when this life starts. But I don't know. It doesn't feel right.
Hmm. Well, that's perfectly fine. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion just as anybody else is, and I
Sure.
think that's perfectly fine. My only issue with pro-lifers generally, and that's just is painting them with a broad brush, but if you're blowing up abortion clinics and you're shooting people or killing people or
Oh well, that's
doctors.
that's kind of radical. I mean, that's
Yeah, that's when I have an issue primarily. I mean, we can just agree to
well, I would
disagree on
too.
something,
I would
right? No,
too,
I
for
believe you.
sure. Mhm.
I believe you. I'm just saying that we can agree to disagree on this topic, and that's fine. But I think that you, as a pro-lifer, need to realize that that is essentially the image that people like myself have of your group, and unfortunately, you're all painted with the same brush, just like Republicans, just like liberals, whatever. You're
Mhm.
all painted with the same brush. So just like Republicans have their crazy Tea Partiers, and which you may be one
Mhm.
of, hopefully you're not, but and liberals have our crazies. We're all seen as that by the other side. So if you don't agree with people who do that, then do something about it and protest them, and people who actually are harming people because they're getting abortions or preventing people from getting abortions. And fucking, excuse my French, Perry, who is my stupid governor, I can't stand him. He's the governor of
Mhm.
Texas, and he, is essentially the antithesis of everything I believe, and almost every way. And he just made it, very, very difficult to have abortion clinics here in Texas,
Mhm.
and pass that law. And even though it's not what the citizens wanted, so anyway, when that happens, when something's passed that way, when it has to do with a woman's right to choose or right to have an abortion or not, I think is just really wrong. But anyway, I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that because you mentioned pro-life and whatever. But when it comes to being gay in Texas, someone like myself, I am a gay, liberal,
Mhm.
non-religious person, and I do not at all have any reverence for people in this state who abhor me because of what I am and try
Mhm.
to curtail my rights, my individual liberties because of who and what I am, because they don't agree with it, when
Sure.
I would never do that to them. So that's what I get pissed off about.
Right. Right. Now, you and I could sit down and have a drink together and have a civil discussion.
Yeah, we just did. Hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, good. See, I don't want you to see me in that light because I feel like we can become friends.
Well, I don't see all people that disagree with me that way.
Mhm.
I'm talking about people
I'm not
who,
that evil
well,
conservative guy.
although, if you, the other thing is, though, I have to say this about this, though. You, as a Republican, right-wing
Mhm.
Republican, are
Mhm.
voting
I'm a
against,
conservative before I'm a Republican.
okay, as a conservative, are voting
Mhm.
essentially against my rights, whether you know it or not. When you elect people who agree with what you believe in, you are saying that no, I don't agree with gay marriage, as you said. No, I don't agree with the things that I just mentioned that I do believe in. You're saying that all those things with your vote, and so you are essentially and effectively voting against me. Even though we can sit down and have a discussion about
Mhm.
what our beliefs are, you are part of the problem and part of the reason that my rights are curtailed. You are part of the
Mhm.
reason that I do not have equal rights in this country. So, unfortunately, even though we can sit down and have a disagreement about things, I do see you to some degree as the enemy.
As a problem.
Yes. Yeah.
keep well, you know what they say? They say keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, right?
I don't agree with that sentiment. I never did. So I just shoot my enemies usually. Not, no, I'm kidding. I'm from
No,
Texas. I'm
I'm
kidding.
a very compassionate person, and I'm going to more or less vote for someone based on their ideals and not their party.
Well, their ideals are often tied to their social policies. I mean,
Hmm.
how can you separate one's social policies from the fiscal ones. I mean, people will sometimes say, "Oh, well, I'm a fiscal conservative, but a social liberal," or whatever they'll say, and that's fine with me. But if you say